Thanks everybody for being here and coming to this event. I'd like to get started with the land acknowledgement. This event is the fourth event in the Friends of Sheldon Jackson Museum's winter series, the Share Your Culture, Share Your Research series. And we always start off with the land acknowledgement, and then I'll introduce our guest speaker. So welcome to the Friends of Sheldon Jackson Museum Share Your Culture, Share Your Research event. There are other upcoming events. If you have access to Facebook or Instagram, you can check the flyer on the Friends of Sheldon Jackson Museum social media pages and also on the Alaska State Museum website to be able to see what we have coming up. We have a Wednesday, January 24th event with Mount Edgecumbe Yupik dancers, a performance in the gallery. So that should be wonderful if you're local and in Sitka. It'll be in person only. And then we have a lot of other events, mostly on Zoom. We'd like to acknowledge and express our appreciation to the Indigenous people of Tlingit Ani who have occupied this land for longer than any of us can imagine, and who, after 250 years of colonization in Alaska, are graciously sharing this amazing land with us. Thank you. I'd like to introduce you to our speaker today, Bobby Brower. She's an Alaska Native Inupiaq fashion artist and furrier and was born and raised in Utqiagvik, Alaska, which is the northernmost town in the United States. Her business, Arctic Luxe, promotes and sells luxurious handmade Indigenous clothing, accessories, and manufactures a variety of garments. Brower has shown her work at New York Fashion Week, the Smithsonian National Museum of American Indian Art Show, the Anchorage Museum, Indigenous Fashion Arts in Toronto, the Adaka Festival in Whitehorse, and she also advocates for murdered, missing Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit peoples. Please join us in welcoming Bobby, and I will hand it over to her. We will have a short Q&A at the end, in which I invite you to use the chat to ask your questions. I'll read them aloud, and Bobby will give you answers. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Ovanga Bobby Lynn Kalutachrak Brower, Utqiagvik Milgurunga, Apaga Gordon Brower Sr., Akaga Mary Jane Avakana. Hi everyone, I'm Bobby Brower. I'm from Utqiagvik, Alaska, formerly known as Barrow. My parents are Gordon Brower and Mary Jane Avakana. So I've started my small business, Arctic Luxe. It was previously known as Bobby Ita Designs, and so I changed the name a few years ago, but I grew up in Utqiagvik, and my slide right here is just pictures of my home. I grew up in a whaling family. My grandpa was a whaler, my dad, my great-grandpa, so we did whaling twice a year, and there's also my two girls plucking ducks. So we would do subsistence hunting all year long, and back at home. I haven't been home for a while, but I really miss home, and that's where all of my inspiration comes from. Growing up, doing all the traditional things, and yeah, so just growing up that way, it just really inspired me to make warm clothing. And so my next slide is my new label for my business. And then my children, I started sewing for them first when I had my oldest child. I didn't have enough money to buy a parka, so one of my aunts, my Aunt Florence, she was like, you should enter the baby contest and make your kid for a parka. And I was like, okay, I'll try it out. And I just fell in love with skin sewing. I've been skin sewing since I was in middle school. So we have a program with our Inupiaq language classes starting in 6th grade through 8th grade, well, all the way through high school and college. And so I started learning to skin sew maybe in 7th grade. And I remember making a little snowy owl in class, and we would make mittens, and we learned how to cook our traditional dishes, and we did some scrimshaw. So I've been sewing for a long time now. So um, over 20 years. Like I started sewing for my daughter. My oldest daughter just turned 20. And so I've been sewing for her. I've been sewing for like 18 years, sewing for my kids. And then that's what got me started in my small business was just trying to dress my kids warm because it's freezing cold from my hometown. In January, February, it's so cold. It's usually like -20 to -30 with the -20 wind chills. So it would average around -50 throughout the whole month for a few months actually. And so I learned how to experiment and learn how to make extreme warm gear. And my mom also helped me make patterns for my parkas, and my grandma helped, and my aunt. So they all got me involved in skin sewing and creating. And then 2016, I bought a fur business. This is my daughter and our dog. And so during the summertime, we would set up and sell furs, and that way I didn't have to buy retail fur from the stores anymore. So it saved me a lot of money for all the projects that I was doing. And so I've owned my fur business since 2016. I'm still doing the fur business, but it's just I do pop-ups nowadays every so often. I don't do the Saturday market. So this was Saturday market downtown back then, but now they moved it over to Diamond Center. And so I've had to figure out over the years like where to set up and do pop-up shops. And then I started doing fashion shows. There's the Alaska Fashion Show was April 2017. And then the Smokehouse Gala with First Alaskans Institute. These are some of the first fashion shows I did. The first fashion show I actually did was in with the Heritage Center here, and it was for the Village Vogue fashion show. I can't remember if it was 2016 or 2017, but I've done quite a few shows since then. Let's go to the next slide. Then I taught classes. This is my kids, the school my kids used to go to. They used to go to Alaska Native Cultural Charter School. I taught this class to the students. I had students from, I think, 2nd grade up until maybe 8th grade. And one of my best students was a 3rd grader. And I was just so amazed. Like she just watched me sew some thimbles that I was teaching them how to make. And like she just watched me and picked it up, and she made like a thimble for each one of her fingers. But it was really amazing to see the kids really get involved and make all of these for the class. It was really cool. And then 2017, I traveled to Canada, and I taught the same kind of class. So this is calf skin. This is traditional trim work for our traditional parkas, but you can use them for anything really. You could use them for mucklucks, mittens. And over in Canada, they were questioning like why we were using cowhide. And I was like, I think just because it was cheap and readily available. And so because over in Canada they use all seal skin, and so it was really fun to teach them something new and different. 2018, I taught at my local college in Utqiagvik. I taught traditional and contemporary skin sewing for a semester. I taught my students how to make ruffs and parkas and fur parkas and Arctic Luxe, whatever they were interested in making. I still teach on a contract basis now, just whoever wants to hire me for like short-term contracts, I'll teach like rough making or kuspuks or Arctic Luxe classes. Excuse me. And then this is Trend Alaska Fashion Show, sponsored by like Alaska Airlines in 2019. Was one of my first shows, one of my first bigger shows. This is my aunt on the side, my aunt Inupiaq, that helped me get started sewing. So she comes and joins me a lot during, you know, my fashion shows or events that I'm putting on. And then this was kind of like my first exhibit at the Bunnell Arts Center. The red Arctic Luxe dress I made in honor of my sister. My sister was murdered in 2002, so it'll be 22 years this year. I made the dress in honor of her for the exhibit, and then I also taught a class on Arctic Luxe making, which was really fun. It was one of my first classes, so I do them pretty often now. Well, it's been a while since I've done one, but it's really fun, and it was really fun to work with everybody over in Homer. And then here's the photo shoot my cousin Ives Brower did for me in Utqiagvik, and his wife is wearing the army print parka, and her cousin is my other model. So this was a fun photo shoot we did. I was really happy and thankful that he helped me out with some photos for some of my parkas, just for advertising purposes. And then here's some photos from New York Fashion Week in 2022. So the two on the sides, they were shown in Harper's Bazaar and Elle Magazine, and that was really cool. I really enjoyed applying. So I applied for that fashion show maybe 6 months before. I looked up their venue, and then I fundraised to attend, and it was a really cool experience. The only thing I think like that's different and harder to navigate is like bringing fur to the lower 48. There's a lot of people that are anti-fur, and then plus being Indigenous, it's I don't know, I was kind of scared at first, but once I like went there, and we had to do maybe like, we were there for a week, and we had to set up previously. We had to we had a whole schedule of things to do every day. But it was really cool, and people were really accepting about the fur. Like they really liked hearing the stories behind like what I do and why I do it. And like growing up in the era that I grew up in was, you know, like fashion and yeah, like the 90s. So like I really love to order clothes from like Delia's magazine, and I always had really cool fashionable clothes in school, and I even got made fun of one time by a friend of mine, and she's like, why do you wear pants that like they look like you're wearing tablecloths? And I was like, I just like them, like don't try to bully me. And so I've always loved fashion, and I've always loved dressing up, and I even would have sleepovers with my friends, and I'd have them do like fashion shows and stuff, and we'd dress up and have fun. But like I just kind of merged like traditional parkas that like my family made. My grandma, my dad's mom, her name was Emily Brower, she could make a parka in one day, and she had 17 children to make warm gear for. So my mom actually learned some of the sewing techniques from my grandma, and then my grandma got sick with Parkinson's disease, and then my mom taught me a lot of the techniques that my grandma knew. So I thought that was really cool. And I really like to share that because it's really special to me. And then, so these parkas, the parkas I make are made out of cotton velveteen, and then the trim, the like on the green parka, the green trim with the white curves on them. Those are all handmade, and then yeah, everything's hand pieced, and I just got really inspired. Like I'll look up things on Pinterest or I don't know, I really like high fashion, so I just have always wanted people to look really fashionable but like traditional at the same time, I guess. And then I had an exhibit, Anchorage Fashion Week. So this was kind of a temporary exhibit. So they were displaying small business owners through Anchorage and showing their work. That's me and my dad. So that was really cool that I enjoyed doing that with Anchorage Museum. And then here's Trend Alaska again. This was my collection from New York Fashion Week. They wanted me to come and show it in Alaska, so I went and had all my designs showed at Trend Alaska. And then I had my design shown again in the Arctic Encounter Symposium Fashion Show in April with all my models from here in Alaska. And then here's the Indigenous Fashion Arts in Toronto. This was a really fun event to attend. I had to apply ahead of time, and it was literally maybe like 3 or 4 days of just fashion shows from artists from all over the world. This was a really fun event because it was run by Indigenous people, and a lot of our models, I think the models there were a mix of Indigenous and non-Indigenous, which I thought was really cool because we want everyone to wear our work, you know, not just us. It's for everyone, and we want other people to support us. Here's the DACA Festival in Whitehorse. This was super fun. The red gown is really special to me. That one I made with sealskin on top, and then it has a velveteen bottom. And then the middle, the vest was all the little pieces, the white designs I hand cut out and glued on, and then I sewed them on. And kind of the same thing with the sealskin print dress. So the sealskin print dress is I actually do like printed clothing. So I ordered the dress, but I added the trim on the bottom, and I made the little skirt, and I made the wrap to go along with it. Let's see. Here is the adaptation and protection exhibit. Portugal, the man who was open, he came to our opening in October 2022. This was on the 5th floor at the Anchorage Museum. So this exhibit is actually still traveling right now. So with this exhibit, I have a Utqiagvik in here, and it's red with black ravens on it. You can't see it too well. I should have put an extra photo of it, but I made it in honor of my sister. So I had, with this exhibit, kind of during COVID, I got funding from the Siri Foundation, and I actually led this group of ladies from, I was in Utqiagvik at the time. I had a lady in Palmer. I had a lady in New Jersey, another lady in Anchorage, and one in Inupiaq. So we all kind of worked together over Zoom. I emailed some patterns over to some of the participants. So I learned how to digitize my own pattern. so that I could just email a pattern instead of mailing it. And then like the students that didn't know how to make these Arctic Luxe, we sewed together over Zoom, and we talked about the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. And so working together over Zoom, it was really a safe space for us to talk about the issue. And then we just, excuse me, we mailed everything to the museum in Homer first, and that was where the first opening was. And they set it up, and I was telling them I want it set up, I guess, kind of like a circle, like they're holding hands, because like in my culture, we a lot of us are believers, and a lot of times when we're going through tough times, and we pray together. So like that's what I kind of wanted for the exhibit for this one. Was I wanted them like they were holding hands and kind of to protect each other. And then I worked with the Alaska Daily Show on Hulu. These items were for their show, the red Arctic Luxe that's shown. The matching one is part of the exhibit that's still traveling. It's currently in Santa Fe right now at the International Folk Art Museum. So it was really cool, the Alaska Daily Show, working with them. There were a bunch of Alaska Native artists that worked with them, and they were so supportive. It was funded, like a lot of the funding came from Disney, and I was really impressed with the costume designers. They would call us, and they ordered some fur items from us. I have a fur ruff that I sent them for the show, and they were like, Disney needs to understand that you guys are Alaska Native and this is part of your culture. And like they were all about using real fur, because Disney is like so anti-fur, but the people we were working with were really supportive of our culture and what we were doing and what we were trying to portray on the show. So it was really cool. This was like my first TV show that I'd been part of. I thought that was really cool. And it was really cool to be part of the show and to see my work on the show. And they actually, the Cuspuk, that's the red Cuspuk, it was worn on the show, and they asked me, is there any way we can honor your sister by having someone wear this or wear something? And I was like, yeah. So I made that Arctic Luxe to honor my sister on the show, and they were really supportive of it. And it was just really nice to have people just honor her in a way. So here's my next slide. And then December 2022, I got a call from dude, what is this guy's name? Hold on a minute. So Lance Twitchell and Mariah Twitchell are the couple in the photo. Lance he's a writer for Molly of Denali, and he actually sent me an email looking for things to wear for the red carpet, because they got invited and they were nominated for the Emmy Awards in Los Angeles, and they were interested in borrowing, or they rented the red dress for the red carpet, and I felt so honored, and it was so cool to be able to be like part of that. And so the red dress really is really near and dear to my heart because it also, I made it in honor of the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, and just adding the seal skin is so unique, just like the print on a seal skin. Every seal is different, just like every person is. And so it was a way to just like honor, our people and those that had gone missing. And so it was just really special to me. But I was just so honored, and I thought it was so cool that, my work made it to the Emmy Awards. And then this was last year. So I did a fashion show for the Ivalu Gala, which is a gala to help support my the Arctic Education Foundation for my corporation, ASRC. They reached out to me and they wanted me to organize the fashion show, and they wanted me to be the lead designer. So I designed all these parkas for the fashion show, and I picked all the designers for the show to come and join me. And yeah, so I help organize and coordinate fashion shows now. And I have another one coming up in March. And then this was just in December. This is my best friend, Bonnie. She's from Nome. She comes with me on most of all my trips, just to help support me. And she's kind of like my CAO. When I need to take a break, she'll take over and sell items for me. But I travel to different art events. I've been to New Mexico a few times selling at their native art market. I wanted to try New York. I went to NMAI. It was one of my big first shows in DC, maybe in 2016 or 2017. And so here we are again in New York City. That was a really, really fun trip. And it was really cool to be in New York and selling artwork. And this was my first art show selling my fur. And besides New York Fashion Week, this one was more of like a fine art show at NMAI. That's my mouse. Do I have any more slides? I think that's it for my slides.
Thank you so much, Bobby. That was fantastic. I'd like to open it up for folks now. If you have a question, you're welcome to enter it into the chat. I also want to mention before we get started that I'm going to input into the chat a link that people can go to fill out a short survey for the Sheldon Jackson Museum's interpretive plan. We're currently looking for public input on our interpretive plan, so please take a moment during the questions or after if you have a chance. And thank you so much. So if anyone has a question, please feel free to type it into the chat now and look for my link in the survey. And if no one has any questions just yet, I'll get started. First, I just wanted to make a comment, I guess. Bobby, I just wanted to say how wonderful it is and beautiful it is that you honor your sister in this way with your artwork. It's really meaningful and significant, and what a gift you're giving to everyone through your sewing and carrying on her memory in this way. So thank you for doing that and for sharing that with us. And I wanted to ask you, I guess I have two questions to start out with. First, I was curious, have you seen a change in people's perception of sewing with sealskin, for example, especially down south since you started sewing? Has that been different for you over the years? Are people more accepting? How has it changed or not changed? And then I'd also be curious, in terms of technicality, what is the most difficult technical kind of thing that you sew? What's a challenge for you? And is there anything that you want to try to master that you haven't yet mastered, in your opinion? Thanks.
You're welcome. So since I went to New York Fashion Week, but even over the past like year or two, I've noticed a huge increase of people doing more native artwork. Like I definitely think like the value of our art has gone up so much more in value, and people actually understand now that like our work that we do is really valuable, and now they really appreciate like they'll pay for how long it takes, and it's really cool to see that over the years. And like I've been doing native fashion for 2016, almost 10 years now. And online, like when I look on Instagram now, there's so many people starting small businesses and doing native art, and it's really good and it's really encouraging, and I'm really proud of our people for starting to create more. So it's really cool to see people doing more hands-on things and doing native artwork. It's such a good thing for our community, because for quite a while it felt like there weren't a lot of people doing artwork, and so to see the increase is really good. And then as for creating, I think one of the most tedious things for me is just making a parka. It takes me about 40 hours to make a velveteen parka, just all the trim work and the custom patterns and the lining and piecing together the fur and just the time that goes into it. I haven't made a parka in a few months now, and sometimes it gets overwhelming to think about it just because it's so time consuming. And then I get overwhelmed and I'm like, I don't know if I want to start on one. But yeah, parkas are really time consuming, but I make earrings and I make hats and muglocks. I make all kinds of stuff. And something that I want to perfect, I don't know, maybe my fur parkas. I'm actually supposed to be making 2 more. I have a fashion show in May, and I need to get started on them, but kind of just perfecting that a little bit more, I guess, is what I would say about my artwork. Oh, and I also like a lot of my printed clothing, I have a company design for me. I want to learn more. Like if I could have time to do graphic art on the computer and learn how to do that myself, that's something that I would pursue, along with what else? Yeah, graphic design, and I think screen printing would be really fun to do. But I also like full time, I'm currently working on a art exhibit project in Massachusetts, and I'm coordinating a couple fashion project and then a fashion show. So I'm always constantly juggling a lot of projects. I think I just need a clone of myself, maybe a couple of them.
That's great. So impressive. Is your exhibit with Mass Mocha by chance?
No, so the exhibit that I'm part of is with the New Bedford Whaling Museum. It's an exhibit that we're working on, and they kind of wanted Alaska Native perspectives on it. So they just wanted us involved, but that would be cool to do. But it was like I really wanted to be part of the New Bedford Whaling Museum project just because like I grew up in a whaling family and my dad's a whaling captain, and I make corsets out of sealskin. And so I was like, I've always wanted to work with baleen just to see. I think I could figure it out how to like split it because I've taken classes when I was younger on like I've made a baleen boat before, so I was like, I think I just need to soak the baleen and probably just split it into pieces somehow. Or, but yeah, so I'm part of their whaling exhibit project.
Very cool. And there's a question from Alaska State Museum Chief Curator Addison Field. Sheldon Jackson Museum is, of course, a branch of the Alaska State Museum. We're just in the Sitka location. He says, hi, Bobby. Thank you for sharing with us today. Thank you for sharing the photos of the Protection, Adaptation, and Resilience show. We at Alaska State Museum are looking forward to having that in Juneau this summer. Is there anything you can tell us about those pieces? Anything additional?
Oh, okay. Let me see. Let me go back to that slide. So this one, some of the other women that were involved in the making of these, one you can't see. One of the Arctic Luxe was kind of made from a bunch of different jackets that I believe the woman's aunt, she made a Arctic Luxe out of different pieces of a jacket, but it's not shown. But when like the exhibit travels over to Juneau, I was hoping to be able to be at the opening. We'll see depending on what the dates are, just because I haven't been to, I've only been to the main opening. All the other times it's traveled down states, I wasn't able to make it to the openings of the other museums or where the exhibit was at. So sometimes I feel like it's not my place to like tell the story of the item. For me, I feel like it's really personal and it belongs to like that family member. But the one where I'm in the picture and my elbows like right on that articulate, that one was made just in honor of all missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls in Two-Spirit. So that one was kind of like to honor everybody, not a specific person. So yeah.
Wonderful. Let's see. Anybody else have any questions? Feel free to type it in the chat if you can. Addison Field says, please let us know if you can make it to Juneau. I see that we've got Golga Oscar, who just joined a little while ago. Are you friends with Golga? We hosted him recently.
Yeah, I'm friends with Golga.
Excellent.
He's actually part of the so I'm coordinating the Arctic Winter Games fashion show that's going to be in March. For the Arctic Winter Games, he's one of our designers. So I've been working with him quite a bit, and we finally, I think we met in person last August at the Santa Fe Indian Market, the Native Art Market in Santa Fe.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, we'll open it up to any last questions. And if not, I can't wait to see what you do the rest of the year. Your fashion show is coming up. You have so many different projects going on. Can you tell us, just so we know we can check it out online, or if we happen to be in the area, if you can tell us, when is the opening for adaptation happening in Juneau at the Alaska State Museum? And also, when is your exhibit opening in the New Bedford Whaling Museum? And what's that exhibit called?
So for the Arctic Winter Games fashion show that's going to be March 14 of 2024. And that I don't have the exact date for the New Bedford Whaling Museum. That one is, I'm kind of just involved as like I'll be, um, I'm just studying some pieces and having, but they are going to bring us over, I believe, to the opening, possibly, which I'm really excited. So I'm just studying some pieces and writing some kind of like what I think would, so like the object that I'm studying are kind of like the strips for the corsets that they used to make. And I'm still working on that. So it's kind of like I'll just be, they'll have information of like what I said about the item. And then hopefully I was gonna see if my dad wanted to get involved, and maybe he'll be in the recordings because they're gonna record some people, and I think it'd be really cool to have him involved in that too.
Excellent. And we did have a question just come in the chat from Golga. He said, I do have a question to both of you. My curious question is, what inspired you to pursue the fashion industry, and who are you inspired by when it comes to showcasing your beautiful clothing? That's a great question. Thanks, Golga.
Thank you, Golga. So I've always been inspired. I think I decided to do fashion just because growing up, like being Indigenous, being Alaska Native wasn't really a cool thing. And I kind of, when I was young, I wasn't really proud of like who I was and where I came from. But I think we all go through that when we're young, and then as I got older, I finally was like, I fell in love with my culture. I went to college and I took some Inupiaq language classes and skin sewing classes. And I got really like addicted to sewing. I think at the end of my college class, I had like 20 items finished. And then I eventually taught the same class. Like I took over and taught the same college class at the college. But I was just, yeah, so I just kind of fell in love with, my culture being Inupiaq, and then I wanted to share that with other people. And then I think my inspiration, like I've always been really inspired by uh, Nora Snowball. She makes beautiful, beautiful parkas. Like her and her mother made beautiful fur parkas, and I was so inspired by her work, and it just made me want to create. And then but like for me, with our traditional regalia, like I just loved like bright colors. I loved beadwork. And then I was like, I'm gonna add these, different things in that are not like normal. So I kind of went out of the box a little bit. And then I really like high fashion. There's like bigger designers, like I really like Louis Vuitton, and I like Chanel, and oh, I love Dior dresses. I just get so inspired by like these different high-end designers, and then I kind of like I'll look up designs that they made, and then I'm like, I'm gonna indigenize it, and I'm gonna put my own spin on it, and I'm gonna make it. And that's kind of like how I mix like my traditional with contemporary and high-end designers. So like I'm inspired by all kinds of people, even people downstates, the native designers downstates. I also was really inspired by Crystal and Rico Whirl from Trickster Company. I noticed they were doing like printed clothing, and so I was like, I can do printed clothing. Like I can just, I could do a sealskin print, or I could do salmon berries and stuff from my area. So I've been inspired by all kinds of people and different designers. So that's kind of, yeah, where I get my inspiration from.
That's great. Have you seen Jeffrey Gibson's work with the Dior for the handbags?
No.
Okay, it's really cool. He's Choctaw Cherokee and down south, and if you're interested, he does really incredible work, abstract painting and sculptures and three-dimensional art, especially. And he recently did a project with Dior for the Lady Dior handbag line, and he made some incredible bags. So definitely check him out. Well, if we don't have any other questions, let's see. I'll just check the chat one more time. Then we can say goodbye and wait until we see you again, Bobby, and hear what you're up to. Thank you, everybody, for attending. Thank you for the wonderful questions. I really appreciate you being here, Bobby, and sharing with us. And again, we're having an interpretive survey that we're carrying out, interpretive plan survey. If anybody is able to, please take a look at the link in the chat. You can fill that out at exhibitak.com/SJM/. You can also get that link from the Friends of Sheldon Jackson Museum website. And we have an event happening Wednesday, January 24th at 12:15 p.m. in person at the Sheldon Jackson Museum. Mount Edgecombe High School Native Dance Group, the Inupiaq dancers, will be performing for us. So we're so excited. Please join us for another Share Your Culture, Share Your Research winter event. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you so much, Bobby. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, attendees.
Thank you.